What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Monday, July 24th, 2017. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the pure one, at Tim Gettys.
Let Tim host.
I'm going to start throwing the at.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what you need.
Yeah.
You refer to yourself sometimes as the
at Tim Gettys.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
How you feeling after Kinda Funny Live 3 now
I
officially out?
feel so good, man.
people.
Seeing the reaction from people, it's just like, it makes everything worth it. And
That live
that's
stream
my
was cool.
favorite part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yesterday's live stream was fantastic. Had so much fun. Loved watching with you guys. Like it just makes everything seem like we are building towards something. And then like being able to release it, it's just like, oh, we did this together. We did this thing, and it's really cool, and no one can take that away from us. Like forever, people will be able to watch that video and be like, that night was real. That night actually happened.
No matter what racist thing Nick one day says, they can't take away that night from everybody.
Very true. That's very true. I don't think it'll be racist. It'll like involve some just inappropriate
children.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it, of course, Kinda Funny Live 3 is up right now on both of our Patreons, patreon.com/kindafunny and Kinda Funny Games. Go there. $10 gets you the exclusive VOD. If you want to wait, no big deal. 1 week from today on the 31st, it'll be up. Also, Party Mode debuts tomorrow. So, hey, if you went and did that, you'd get a new Party Mode over on the Games one. But I digress. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, somebody, usually me and somebody else, but lately it's been just a hodgepodge of all sorts of hosts that we have because we have so many cool people working with us. Jump in and get into the nerdy news you need to know about in the video game world, getting really hands-on with it, discussing your questions, taking your questions, talking to you about your PSN names and things like that. If you like that, please, of course, you can watch it live on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. We don't look at the chat, though, because this is the podcast. However, you can keep us honest by going to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screwed up as we screw it up. We'll give you a rundown at the end what we fucked up. You can get it on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. You can get it on podcast services around the globe. But no matter where you get it, it would mean the world to your old pal Greg Miller if you rated it, subscribe to the channels, all the different ones. Wherever you're not using. You're in your car right now. You're going down the I-10 freeway. Man, there's a lot of traffic. Look at that guy picking his nose. It'd be great when you get to a computer if you could subscribe to YouTube. It'd be awesome. If you want to go the extra mile, Patreon, but no big deal. No big deal. Let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. Why? It sounds like it's beaten today. Are you just tired?
Yeah, dude, I'm so tired. Like going in right now, I didn't practice it at all today, which I do every day.
No real need to practice it. You just go do it. That's all you get. All right, good. Okay. All right,
Again, Star Wars.
Now we figured that's fine. Give me if that'll get you to do it, fine.
Yeah, but I don't remember that.
There are 4 items on the Roper Report.
A baker's dozen.
Kevin does it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's his new thing. Number 1 is the big one for the day, the one we'll talk about the most. Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago was a fucking disaster.
It was
apparently.
an event, man. Wow.
When they announced this, I think it was me and Danny. It all runs together. They were talking about it, and I was like, wow. This is actually a cool idea. They're going around the globe having these events. Chicago's this big one put on by Niantic. It's a Pokemon Go Fest. It's going to be amazing. All these people in Grant Park. And I'm like, as a Chicago, boy, I'm like, that's cool. It's going to be hot as balls, but whatever. People will be prepared. No, nobody was prepared for anything. It was a complete disaster. I'm going to jump over to Polygon. Read Allegra Frank's story. Pretty much all of it. I leave out the last paragraph because it doesn't apply. In case you missed it, Pokemon Go Fest went about as poorly as it could have. Visitors who traveled from far and wide spent hours in the blistering sun, unable to play the game due to massive bugs and server errors. No one felt the heat more than Niantic, the game's developers, which was shocked by just how much of a disaster the event was. Quote, obviously they can't completely make it up to all the people who have come out to Chicago today, but they want to extend the fact that they are extremely apologetic and unhappy with the process and results, a spokesperson told a small group of press on behalf of the development team towards the end of the event. So hopefully, this is something that we will never see replicated again, learn from this, and move on. One of the most beaten spokesperson answers I've ever heard in video games. The developer already started to make amends during Pokemon Go Fest. Attendees were frustrated and loud about it by their inability to play the game during the day, which led Niantic to offer compensation. First, the company promised $100 of in-game currency to all ticket holders. Not long after that, Niantic offered full refunds to anyone for their $20 wristbands. Quote, just know that the staff here are pretty horrified with the results, so they want to make it good as fast as possible, the spokesperson told us, just before Niantic put out a much softer official apology on its website. Quote, I'm super sorry, guys. I'm really sorry, especially for everyone who traveled international East Coast from all over, he continued telling press. So this clearly was not what we were hoping for today. Thanks for your patience. In a separate Polygon article they put up, this is just a pull quote from it. Others still have made Niantic CEO John Hank aware of their displeasure. Each time he's taken the stage in Grant Park today, players have booed or demanded that Niantic fix the game. Now that sounds like hyperbole, but I went over to Kotaku and they had found they put up a video embed that was someone's YouTube of just a compilation of, I guess, their stream.
Yeah.
And it's like they are
like yelling at him. There is a
game.
fix the game. Fix the
and it's
game.
totally
Like,
audible.
holy
Like he has to stop talking and let them do that and stuff. It is like, what a fucking nightmare on all fronts. I feel for everyone involved with this.
I would hate to be Niantic right now.
Yeah.
That is such a shitty, unfortunate thing for them to want to plan this event and have it be this fun thing and celebrate Pokemon Go and have the legendary raids. Because again, what a great idea. Let's get huge fans of this game still.
The biggest fans.
The biggest fan. Andrew Goldfarb going out there. Like literally he did. To be there and to, for the first time ever, join together, do the raid to try to get Articuno and Lugia. And it's like, that's such a great idea. And then for the game to not work and then for it to be such a grand scale thing and add on the sun and all this other stuff, that is, there's so many problems with it. And it's like, where did this go wrong is the question. What steps could they have taken to make sure this didn't happen? Like Kind of Funny Live 3, having planned a huge event, we need to stop and all of us think like, what are the issues that we can foresee? What are the things that we need to get ahead of? All right, people are going to be in line. We need to make sure that that line is going in a certain direction, and like what's the process to get people in correctly and all this. You need to think about those things. So when you're gathering people for a game that requires servers and cell phones and all that, you can't drop the ball on that part.
No. And that's for me the craziest thing. You know, Gus Sorolla today, Rooster Teeth, he had tweeted like this is his nightmare, and then responded to my tweet when I put it out or whatever, saying basically the same thing. And he, did RTX. And then Jen, of course, a former brand manager from Square Enix, she was talking about like this is exactly what I worry about with every event I throw or something to that effect. So to have it be so fucked up is insane. Now, over at kindoffunny.com/KFGD, you can be part of the show by writing in with questions and all sorts of stuff. Tom McD wrote in and said, do you think Pokemon Go Fest hurt the Pokemon brand at all? And should Nintendo/Game Freak/Niantic be worried?
I mean, I think the easy answer to that's no. Like, Pokemon is so big and so huge that it's like this is a blip in the radar, and the only people that are ever going to talk about this are the ones actually affected. And even then, they're not going to blame Pokemon. They're going to blame Niantic. And I think that the people that are writing articles about this and the us's of the world and people that pay attention to the games journalism side of things, it's going to be a hot topic thing, and people are going to make jokes about this for a while, but next year, no one's going to remember. See,
I disagree. I disagree with a little bit what you're saying. Pokemon as a brand, no. Pokemon as a brand's fine. It's a giant ship. It's crushing everything in its path. That doesn't stop. Pokemon Go, I think, has been handicapped once again in the way that Pokemon Go launched and was this phenomenon that everyone was playing. But obviously, those numbers drop off. It has to do with every game, but this one, so much, right? Precipitously. There's just like this huge drop, of course, as there would be. But the people who left, I think, left because, man, this shit doesn't work. It crashes every time I throw this. It doesn't remember. Like, there were so many problems with the game at launch that so many people left going, Pokemon Go, yeah, whatever. It's a fad. But like when it was like up for Game of the Year and people were like, it can't win Game of the Year. It's a bad game. It doesn't work. This, that, and the other. This was the first time someone reported on Pokemon. Now, I'm not talking about this, the fallout from it, but last week when we're leading up to Pokemon Go Fest was the first time I had heard someone talk about Pokemon Go in a way where I was like, wow, that's really fucking cool. That's a really cool thing. If they could have stuck this landing and all the hardcore Pokemon kids who left there leave and all they're saying is, it was amazing, we caught this, it would have been this giant statement, I feel, on Monday of, hey, everybody, Pokemon Go works really well. You left it forever ago, and I'm not pointing at you. I'm saying, you left this game forever ago. You forgot all about it. You still thought of it as this broken piece of shit. No. Niantic's made a lot of changes. You can see the money that it's made getting reinvested into the product. You can see how this works. And instead it comes off and it's like, man. This is a small developer in over their heads, just like we said when it launched. Here they are again with an event that just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And to your point, don't get me wrong, I'm a moron. I'm not going out there and launching a thing and not thinking of like, what's it going to be like if we bring together X thousands of people in Grant Park and they all use different carriers, but they're all using data servers and they're all jumping up to our server, there's a lot of problems I think on this one.
Absolutely. I disagree with you in that this could have been a big moment for Pokemon Go in a large sense. Like, yeah, obviously, if the press was more positive, that would be a good thing for that moment, but I don't think that would have converted anybody, and I don't think that would have changed the perspective on Pokemon Go at all. There would be no shift. The people that like playing Pokemon Go like playing Pokemon Go. There are the hardcore people that want to have every single one and are super involved in the raids and gym battles and that stuff. But this is the type of thing where at this point it's for them, right? It's like people going to Destiny Con or people going to anytime it's a convention around a single game, that is the hardest of hardcore. And no matter how amazing that event is, you keep bringing this up on different shows, talking about Comic-Con, about how this year we weren't at Comic-Con. And it's crazy to feel like when you're at Comic-Con, it's the most important thing in the world.
The eyes of the world are on us.
It's like, oh man, like doing the live shows, it's like, holy crap, this is so big and so huge. But then it's like us being on the other side now, we're just like, oh yeah, like cool, there's trailers coming out, but like it's not this all-encompassing thing. And I think it's this even bigger with that, where it's like, oh my God, people love Pokemon Go when you're all there. And it's oh no, they don't. Like it's just the people here. You know?
See, my one, because I think the truth is somewhere in between us. I'm not saying that Pokemon Go Fest goes incredible. Everybody catches whatever the giant Bulbasaur, the legendary. That's
giant
out there.
Bulbasaur, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's out there. They catch this fucking turtle thing with eyes. Like, all right, cool. And then
turtles have eyes.
And they come home and everybody's like, oh, fucking, like it's this giant spike and everybody comes back. But when you talk about like Destiny Con or Guardian Con or whatever, or even Destiny's 2 reveal event, right? Like for me, that was enough for me to go, oh man, I really want to get back into Destiny. Like that was fun. I would like to do that. I think there would have been, there's your hardcore circle you're talking about, right? Then there's the wavy people on the center that are like, oh, like me, and then there's this outer shell of millions that are just like, I'm never gonna fucking touch that game. Yep. I think that wavy circle around the hardcore is in and out, and I think that if they would have been like, because I don't know, but I mean, it would have been that, oh hey, since this has happened, now this legendary's out there and you can do this, and they've redone gyms, which I know they did a while ago, and they look like penises. I saw Goldfarb tweet about it. But it's one of those, I think you could have gotten at least some people back into it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. The trailer they put out for Pokemon Go Fest was epic as hell, and it was super awesome. And I was like,
just like the original Pokemon Go trailer,
just like the original one, but all these people getting together to fight and then capture the legendary. I'm like, that's awesome. And seeing the videos and pictures of the Pokemon, is it Pokemon Go Fest? Is
Pokemon Go Fest.
It's like, oh, this kind of looks like the trailer if you're just looking at the pictures, but then when you hear all the stuff of it not working, it's like, shit, man.
Well, I mean, that was the thing,
what
right?
a misstep.
Is that I didn't know there were all these problems until this morning when I read the recaps. Because what I had seen was Goldfarb, his day started pretty well and he caught something or did whatever. I thought maybe it was him showing a bug. I can't even tell the fucking difference because I'm 95 years old. It was that. Then it was, I like literally when I woke up Saturday morning, I rolled over and I already had a message and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning and it was sent at 6:30, but it was the time difference and it was my cousin who just, her and her son. What is that's not my second cousin, right? That's also my cousin. I never get that one right. Anyways,
first cousin, right?
Is it? Is that how it works? Because second cousin is like somebody removed from an aunt. Kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Here's an easy one. Anyways, her son wanted to go, but didn't realize they'd be sold out. So they were down there trying to get tickets and they were wondering if I had to hook up. And I was like, oh no. And I did it. And then they were like, oh my God, tickets are going for like $200 from scalpers. I'm like, no, that's not right. Here we go. Children of your cousin are actually called your first cousin once removed. Your cousin's child is not your second cousin, as commonly believed. The appropriate name for addressing your cousin's child is niece or nephew. What? The appropriate name for addressing your cousin's child is niece or nephew, even though they're not fucking cousins and weird shit like that, all right? These people I kind of fucking know that show up at holidays had a kid and they wanted to go to Pokemon Fest. You know what I mean? And so there was this whole thing of like, oh, cool. And then I saw photos of the line that stretched around Grant Park and all this stuff. And it sucks because it sounds like such a cool event. You know what I mean? If there was a DC Universe, a Friday the 13th, a Marvel's Hero Omega, like if they had this event where we all got together and did that and it was easy, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be rad.
It really sucks, man, because I don't know all the details of this, but it sounds like the big issue is that the servers weren't working, right? Yeah. The problem with that, though, is like they don't control the sun. They don't control a lot of the issues that came up, but all of a sudden they own those issues because they fucked up the one thing that they needed to get right.
Yeah.
So then all eyes are on how horrible the entire situation is, not just the actual problem that they can control, you know? And that's how this stuff happens. And it's very hard to avoid, but I really wonder what went wrong. I really wonder what the plan was and what they expected to go differently. And it's easier to say that than to actually have a solution to it.
Sure.
But like, don't sell tickets. Just have people show up, and if things didn't work, it'd be like,
Exactly. And
just
that was the
fucking
thing
here.
of even that was what's interesting about it, right? They're refunding the $20 bracelet or whatever. Okay. That's cool. What about the person who bought it from a scalper? I mean, yeah, fuck them, whatever. But what about the people who did fly from England, flew across the country, came out there because they're the hardest of hardcore? And that's what's interesting is how much of them being burned by this then erodes that core already.
Yeah.
That core that is the kids who are like, and parents and adults who are just like, I love Pokemon Go.
But so with that, that's an interesting thing because I wonder how much effect that is actually going to have on those people. Because yeah, I'm sure they were soured by the experience.
Sure.
However, they still got to come and be there with the community and hang out with people.
Yeah.
And as we know, like that is what's important about the whole thing. And so if they end up getting the legendaries anyways, it's like, all right, even if it was delayed and it wasn't the experience that they wanted, like if they get the things that they paid for, then it's like, all right, you still did get to hang out with everybody. I don't know. They should not have done this. Like that is really what it comes down to.
Short,
it's like,
why did you do this?
Like you cannot have something where there's so many X factors that you just can't control. And obviously they've had problems with it. And it was as bad server issues as when the game launched. And that was a huge issue.
Here we go. I tweeted out the link to the Kotaku thing. That's a brutal recap of the very bad Pokemon Go Fest, which I want to get back to in 1 second, that actual article. And over here, Haig tweeted it back at me and said, yeah, a lot went to shit, but my friend told me he had an amazing time with the community and later on when the problem subsided. So it is that thing of like, it's very, if you're watched all the Gamescast or Games Daily, I was talking last week, I think at the end with Danny about like how everybody hates season passes except the people who buy them for the games they love. This is very much the exact same thing, right? Where I'm totally an outsider and Pokemon Go, if it would have gone flawlessly and everybody had a great time, it wouldn't be a story today. Unless it was that the legendaries are out now in the wild or some shit like that.
I guess that's the point that I was trying to make earlier about when I said I disagreed with you, is that, it wouldn't have been talked about if it went well.
Yeah. Good point. I do want to give a special shout out though, and I know nothing about them, but what I assume are hired hosts for Pokemon Go Fest, like the girls who are on the mics interviewing people and everything else and hosting the thing, because as we host stuff professionally, and again, that's another nightmare of, all right, cool, you've signed this contract, you're on to be the host, you're trying to keep spirits up, and everything is going to shit, and they had to keep talking about the board, and like, hey, and let's check in to see what people have caught, and people are booing them, and a water bottle gets thrown at one of them at one point,
shit.
and it's like, I'm watching it cringing, being like, oh man, like I'd be coming out every time and being like, oh, sorry guys, but like, I know in the heat of the moment, would I, if every time I come off stage, somebody's like, hey, we're working on it, it should be fixed in a second, don't address it, like, at what point do I go, all right, fuck you guys,
hey,
I'm doing
the job,
it. Greg Miller probably would do it right away. But again, I feel for these people because I know how many of our friends are just spokespeople that go out and do this kind of shit and like, all right, here's your card and go read the card or whatever.
Here's what you can say, here's what you can't say.
Yeah.
We don't have an answer. It's like, oh, fuck, they want an answer.
Yeah,
They're screaming people that are upset. God, that is such a nightmare. I hate that. Oh, man.
And there's one part of the video that makes it look like the Niantic guy comes off and his mic's still alive. And it's like, he says, he's like, at least they're not throwing bombs. Probably because they don't have any. And it's like, ooh. Rough day for Pokemon Go. I have one more Pokemon Go question for you, though. Why not? Pete says, do you think AR games like Pokemon Go are indicative of a trend towards that style of game or a one-off that only succeeded because it was Pokemon? Or had the IP?
I mean, undeniably, it succeeded to the level it did because of Pokemon. I don't think that it'll be a trend that happens, but I think that there will be games that people latch onto. Niantic's first game, I forgot what it's called now, but
similar idea, right?
Yeah, and people that were into it were really into it.
And that's the thing, is like, this isn't, Pokemon Go didn't invent this. This has been around, this has been going, this is a thing. It's just
Pokemon just fits so well with it, and it is such a great idea. And there are still so many people playing. I know so many people that play it, like people in our industry. Every time I see them, they're freaking trying to catch Pokemon. I'm like, wow. And like, I want to talk shit about them because I'm like, are you kidding me? You're still fucking doing this every day, every lunch break. You're still doing this. Yeah. But people like stuff. It's like the tapping games and all this stuff. It's like,
oh, my name is Mayo.
People just get obsessed with the weirdest things, but all you got to do is get them obsessed with it and you have a hit.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's like, don't get me wrong. I'm like, oh man, people are still playing. But my takeaway isn't like, you're still playing this. It's like, wow, that's cool. I'm glad you found something you love that much that you do want to wander around and be addicted to and be super into. And like Pokemon Go Fest is such a Kind of Funny Live 3 kind of thing. I'm just like, yeah, fuck yeah, go do that. All right, cool. I don't understand it necessarily. I mean, I understand the drive of it, but like, It's awesome, cool. Like when we were playing it for a while, like that's gonna go down as like when it's all said and done. I think back on video game moments in my life that are like insane or whatever. It was the fact of walking around my fucking weird Sunset neighborhood, way off the popular part of the Sunset, and people were wandering around catching Pokemon, talking about Pokemon on the street. I remember we're driving and Kevin had just downloaded it, and he was so excited because we were going past places and he was able to get more Pokeballs and do all this different stuff. And then when we moved in here and the comic shop below us was a Pokestop, it was like,
we were stoked. I mean, it's Paula, Kevin's fiance, texted me being like, "Hey, we're gonna get dinner and go catch Pokemon." It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, man.
I wandered out of Comic-Con last year, 2016, and ran into Cliff and Lauren Blazinski, and they're like, "Hey, we're just wandering around catching Pokemon." I'm like, all right, because I had mine and a charger. I was like, all right, we fucking did that for like, I did it for like 30 minutes, and they're like, we're gonna keep going. I'm like, I'm gonna go drink. I'll see you later.
Yeah, so funny.
Number 2 on the Roper Report, PSN maintenance happens tonight. It's affecting PS4, PS3, PS Vita, and other systems, it says.
Okay.
The routine maintenance and improvements for PlayStation Network will be performed for approximately 1 hour on July 25th, 2017, from 12 a.m., on the 25th to 1 a.m., your local time zone. So anyone who has an account can still sign into their PlayStation Network profile, play games, and use most of the applications while the maintenance is carried out. You will not be able to access PlayStation Video, PlayStation Store, and account management during this maintenance. We apologize for any inconvenience. We recommend activating your PlayStation 4 as your primary console before maintenance begins so you can continue to play most games and use your third-party services during maintenance. So late night, wherever you are, probably doesn't matter for you. And most importantly out of that, in case you haven't ever caught us say it before, if you have a PlayStation 4, go activate it right now as your primary console. Because that's what happens when the network goes down or something happens. There's you go in there and you're locked out all your digital games and you're like, why? I'm the only person who... just because it is your primary PlayStation doesn't mean it's actually activated as your primary PlayStation. Go do it. Otherwise you get locked out of your stuff.
That's a pro tip.
Pro tip right there for your PlayStation 4 Pros. Number 3, Dying Light is still kicking after more than 2 years. IGN reports that it's getting more DLC. Techland has announced that Dying Light will be getting 10 pieces of original new content during the next 12 months. All the DLC will be free across all platforms and will include new enemies, new events, new mysteries, quote unquote, and more. A new enemy content drop will be coming soon as a tiny taste of what's to come. Dying Light released in early 2015, but the developer says the game still has more than 500,000 average weekly players. Techland previously said it would be supporting the game until the end of 2016, but that has clearly been extended even further. Can you fucking believe this?
Cannot believe it. I will never forget walking into Toys R Us and buying the Halo 2 map pack.
Oh yeah.
It was on disc because my internet wasn't good enough to download the maps or whatever, and just being so impressed that game was still going, that there was more to it, right? And to think that we're at a point now that a game like Dying Light, a new IP, can come out and be as well received as it was, and then years later be getting newly announced DLC is so cool, so impressive, and man, that's just such a shout out to the fans of the game, the people that did support fresh idea and something new and different, and that this is great.
How crazy is it too that, I mean, first off, more than 2 years later, but that they announced they'll be supporting it until the end of 2016. They go beyond that. It's usually the adverse of that, right? Where they put things out ahead of time, it's done and whatever. Like they just quietly try to fade away. What's crazy for me about Dying Light is, and as I say, I'm a moron. I don't understand business. I don't understand this different stuff. I'd love to know what the discussions are between Techland and WB. This is a Warner Brothers published game. You have to imagine Warner Brothers wants them to make a sequel. I mean, obviously they're working on Dying Light 2. They have to be wanting that out the gate as soon as possible. But it's like, does Warner Brothers see the value in there being 500,000 players still playing it? That like, okay, cool, there's a community here, so let's be good to them, because that's not fostering it. That's not big publisher talk usually. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be insulting or paint everybody with a broad brush, but that is much more like, hey, we're The Witcher. Like, we're going to do all this stuff for free because this is who we are, and this is who we are. And Techland to do that is awesome, and I want that, change the perception of people like that. But you imagine WB of all people, and not that I'm knocking WB. I love WB.
They're big.
Would be like, awesome, cool, the game's done. You promised till 2016. Fucking stop. Yeah. You have a team going. It's fascinating.
All the DLC will be free across all platforms. Like yeah, you're making a good point. What is the business play there? Because you can't monetize the 500,000 people if everything's free.
Sure.
Right? But it's like, are they just betting that those 500,000 are going to keep staying there, and then they will buy the sequel.
Yeah. And then, and they talk, it's what all DLC, blah, blah, blah. It's new enemies, new events, new mysteries. It doesn't sound like it's a new, giant quest line. It doesn't sound like it's a new story. It sounds like it's ancillary content to keep this experience fresh, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock it. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing maybe there is a small DLC team that gets to work on it while the other guys are heads down. Maybe it does. Keeping those people happy does the same effect we talk about all the time of stoking that fire so that when you do announce it, first off, everybody's heard amazing things about Dying Light for 2 years. They've heard that the developer / publisher is good to them, and they're more inclined, I guess, to go out and buy Dying Light 2 or whatever they call it when it launches. It's also similar to what I was arguing, and I think I argued with you before too, about Shovel Knight and their DLC in the way of like, this is the way to do it. Hey, here's a bunch of free small updates that we're giving you and stuff like that. Not, hey, here's the Shovel Knight DLC that's a brand new game that
should have been marketed differently.
Deserves to be in the running for Game of the Year or whatever, Platform of the Year and all these different things, but won't because it is DLC. This is the way to go and keep those 500,000 people happy. Interesting to see how it pays off and when we'll get Dying Light 2. And final story on the Roper Report, the Destiny 2 beta has been extended. Bungie tweeted, the Destiny 2 open beta has been extended through Tuesday, 7/25 for additional service testing. Expected completion is 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
They say Pacific Daylight Time. Now, Tim, this is usually where I would, go, whatever's coming to mom and grop shops, and then we do the song, we do the list, and see if you memorized it. Did you memorize it?
No.
No, you didn't memorize it. For the first time ever on Kind of Funny Games Daily, I got nothing for you.
Really?
There's no games out today. I could dig up that nothing new's coming out on this Monday, and then new dates. Some dates are like, oh, there's stuff coming tomorrow. I'm like, it's kind of announced, and then it just falls into the games that are out tomorrow. So I'm just not doing it.
Okay.
We don't have to sing the song. We don't have to do the jingle. Do anything. You know what I mean? Again, kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. You can tell me what's out. You can also show me on Steam where to go just to figure out what weird stuff. But I don't need. There's a million Steam games, right?
Yeah,
I don't know how to do. Deals of the day though. I got one for you. Over on Best Buy, they're doing this Cyber Monday kind of thing, I guess. They did some stuff on Friday, now they're doing a mid-July Cyber Monday. This is GameSpot reporting. Among the new deals is one on Nintendo eShop gift cards, which can be redeemed on Switch, 3DS, and Wii U. Purchasing a $50 card entitles you to a $10 card for free. In light of how infrequent deals on the Switch eShop have been proven so far, there's been one. This is essentially an opportunity to take $10 off the price of any game, letting you get, say, Splatoon 2 for $50 instead of $60. Some offers are completely new or steeper versions of those from last week. You can find Horizon Zero Dawn for $30, $24 with Gamers Club Unlocked, and MLB 17 The Show for $20, $16, or DualShock 4 controllers for $40.
All right. Man, that reminds me of the good old days with Nintendo. Remember when Nintendo games used to be $10 cheaper than the other guys?
Oh, yeah.
And Game Boy Advance, it was like $40 games, but if it was first party, they were $30. And
now they got you by the balls. They ain't
GameCube,
giving
they
you
were $40 games, and others were $50. It's like it's weird.
Can I say something a little bit controversial?
Yeah,
I love video games.
They're good.
You know what I mean?
They're so
it's fun
damn
talking
good.
about them.
Yeah.
We did the stream yesterday. Got to play Friday 13th. Let me just tell you, that game's amazing. And I know I took about a month off from telling you all how amazing Friday 13th was. Holy shit, is Friday 13th great? It was that thing. I got the hit, and I was immediately like, just want to go home,
dude.
Ignore Portillo and Jen. Just play this nonstop.
Talking about video games and just loving them so much. Like this, I've been editing a lot, so I haven't had as much time to dedicate to Crash as I've wanted to. Yeah. But man, it is just such fun snack food to just jump in and just be like, oh my god, I get to play for an hour, and it's so good. I'm like, the more I play Insane Trilogy, the more I'm like, I actually love these games.
Right.
Like, there's something here. I'm so happy it's selling as well as it is. Like, that is only going to be good for the future. We're getting a new Mario this year. I'm so stoked for that. But Sonic Mania, man, every little screenshot that comes out, every new level, every song shown. Did you see the stuff
today? It might have been over the
bonus
weekend.
Level that came.
They were like, even the 3D stuff's been redone in the 2D way.
So the bonus levels are reminiscent of kind of a mishmash of all the different bonus levels that we liked from the original ones.
Okay.
But it's done in the style of Sega Saturn. So it's 3D Sonic running around, but he's like super polygonal, and it looks so good, and just the attention to detail, the music is just fucking fantastic, and that game is coming out, oh my god, in like 3 weeks.
I know. That's the thing is, the gun is pointed at us. We're looking down the barrel. Everything's coming.
Everything is coming.
Yesterday I'm gonna bust this out. This is a list I started working on. In my head, I started working on this show quite a while ago, but then I think we were doing the stream yesterday. and I started up basically here are all the games I want to play and release dates because I got to start putting them on the schedule. You know what I mean? So it's called Games Greg Wants to Play.
This is a good games cast.
Should I stop and say it?
Yeah. Let's say that'll be the topic of the show this week.
Okay. A lot of good stuff.
Trying to schedule out our gameplay for the rest of the year.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, speaking of, I'm not going to steal. This doesn't apply to my list of games, though, right?
Okay.
Lucid Dream wrote in as our first reader mail of the day. Just like you can to kindafunny.com/KFGD and said, not a question, but a prediction, Greg. Marvel Heroes Omega will be your next platinum. Now, I was driving towards this question because you were talking about snack food games with Crash. And that's how Marvel Heroes Omega is at the moment, where I can jump in and just beat the hell out of something for a little bit, get better loot, do whatever. I hit the level cap with Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen is level 60 now.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Still need to beat the story, working my way towards that. It sounded like a Vanessa Carlton line, right?
I was going to do it, but
yeah,
no.
Working my way towards that, being Spider-Gwen. Anyways, and now it is to that point where I start looking at the trophies every so often. Now, I won't be so bold as to say I will do it, that I'll platinum Marvel Heroes Omega, because I have fallen too many times saying I'm going to do that. I never platinum fucking Phantom Pain. It broke my heart. I can't make time for Persona. If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just full of shit. And you should never take anything I say, other than the fact that I love you, to heart. Because everything else I'll let you down on. I'm a monster. But that said, I feel like, and now this is a scary thing to say, okay? I feel like the next platinum has to be, unless there's some stupid free, 15-minute one comes around. The next real platinum I ever put time into is going to be Patapon. I feel like there's no way I cannot not platinum Patapon.
That's how I
right?
feel about Crash, and I'm a little concerned now. I've been talking about this for weeks now, but I'm hitting a point that I'm like, I don't know that I can platinum this game.
And that's my concern, is that I do not know the Patapon trophy list. So if it's some fucking bullshit, play the game 3 times, and all right, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
That's my concern, is it gets like a stupid one in there. But like Marvel Heroes Omega, I do think one day, I could see a future where I do it. The problem is that game is a huge time sink. You know what I mean? Not only do I have, sure, Spider-Gwen's level 60 now, right? And this isn't even the hardest one. She's level 60. I need to prestige her, which means go back to level 1 with her, do it again, and then get back to level 60, and then re-prestige her. And then it's like you have to prestige, I think it's a trophy for 5, so it'd be 4 other characters I'd have to get to level 60. Now, granted, with experience boosts and stuff like that, you could do it, but there's just a lot of work to be done there. I got to go to every treasure room on every map. Have I been doing that? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's hard to do. So I'd like to, I think that's a game that has staying power for me, where it's going to be that, because it's mindless. I jump in. I'm not playing for the story. I'm playing it because I just want to fuck around and be a superhero for a little bit. Fuck around in it, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to put it down forever and come back to it. It's similar to Friday the 13th, where it's like, I jump back into Friday the 13th on the stream after a month off, and I was like, oh, I didn't miss a step. I'm still really high level. I know what I'm doing. I'm having fun. This game's great.
Daily deals that happened during the weekend.
Yeah.
But Crash Bandicoot DLC came out, and it's free if you get it by August 19th.
We talked about this on the show last week, yeah. And thank you for doing that. No, this is important, though. It is a follow-up that we didn't know at the time of the show, I think. But yes, the Crash Bandicoot free DLC that's up, you can download right now without having the game. We had a conversation of like, would my PlayStation 4 let me download it?
It's on PSN. It's outside. You don't actually access it from in the game.
Right. Well, even then, sometimes there's weird shit where it's like, you don't have this game installed. Why would you? Or you don't have the right. So you can download it now if you're waiting for Crash to go on sale one day. I mean, things selling way too fucking well. It's not going to get a huge pressure. Anyways, let's continue with reader mail. Nick wrote in to kindafunny.com/KFGD and says, I have ice cream scoops. No, it's not our Nick. I'm kidding. It's a different Nick says, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis. One lives on in a brand new release for Switch. The other dies or is relegated to Super Mario Sports Mix / Olympic game status. Choose.
Is this even a question?
I hope not.
No, it's not.
Mario Golf?
Yeah, lives.
Thank God. Okay.
No, Mario Tennis, I mean, it had its time and it had its place, but I feel like during that generation on Xbox, there was, what was the tennis game? Power Serve?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Ultra, wasn't it? Oh, that was the Sega version. That was the Sega game.
I don't know, but tennis games were a thing. There's something about tennis in video games that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Pong, right?
Hot Shots.
Like,
Hot Shots
Hot
Tennis is a thing.
Tennis, gotcha, yeah.
PS2 Classic, still fun.
It's a fun game. It's a fun idea. Hit a ball back and forth, and cool. Mario obviously added a lot of fun elements and having the more cartoony like power-ups and all that stuff. Great. But I feel like at the end of the day, the Mario Tennis games are a much more surface level affair than the golf games. And I feel like the golf games add levels of depth that make it a real franchise with staying power, and that's why it's like if Mario Tennis was relegated to being a game within a game, I think that would actually be better for it. Because like we saw with the Wii U version of Mario Tennis, which was utter garbage, that game just didn't have anything. Whereas I think Mario Golf would be really good.
Yeah, I love Mario Golf. I have so many fond memories of. I would love that, especially on the Switch. Excuse me, with Go Anywhere. And like I know it's one of those where I do love the tennis games as well. And I'm thinking of Hot Shots Tennis, much like I'm thinking of Hot Shots Golf, which I'm getting on PlayStation 4 this year. But the portability, right, of like what I loved about Mario Golf World Tour on 3DS was it was with me all the time. And that's why I put 90 hours into that game, because I just fucking loved it so much. And like for everybody's golf coming to PlayStation 4 here in August, it's on my list of things I'm looking forward to. It's one of those, I already have that day blocked out after Kind of Funny Games Daily as a stream where I'm going to have, do tournaments with the kids. But one of my favorite things that we did at IGN was, I say we, I mean like me and Mitch and all these people, is we'd come in an hour early with our 3DSs and do a round. And we call it tea time in the morning. We would sit there and golf. I would love to do that before morning show or whatever and get that going. But it's like, it's still I'm gonna be missing something of, even on PSP and Vita, it was great to take it on a plane and take it with me anywhere. Yeah. Because it's such a simple game, even though it's complicated. Golf's awesome. At least in video games.
Video game golf, awesome.
Real game golf sucks. Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Big Tim Gettys. Sky. I'm afraid pronunciation wise I'm gonna get in trouble on that one. We're just gonna call him Sky. Sky wrote in and said, how often do you play games with the sound off, and do you think developers are taking this into account? I've been playing 90% of my time while listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos.
This is one of those questions that I'm going to have a very hyperbolic answer for.
Let me hear it.
You're a fucking monster.
Thank you.
If
Thank
you
very
are
much.
playing games without the sound. I just don't understand that. Even when it came back to like Game Boy Advance games, I was so upset that the GBA SP didn't have a headphone jack because I wanted the full experience. It's like, I feel like you need to be invested. You need to be in and doing it correctly.
Sure.
And the sound cues are such a huge part of the game. And also the music is setting the atmosphere and the tone. Monsters.
Now, here's the thing, is that for me, my answer to this is rarely, if ever. And then if it is, it's something like I always talk about Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, Skyrim, something where I'm grinding and I've already been playing for hours and hours and hours, and I'm not missing story. You know what I mean? Like another good example, which is it's a good example in the way that the whole reason I bought the SNES, that Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Is that not one of the ones? Are you not one of those guys? I like to say SNES sometimes.
I'm an SNES guy.
Okay,
the SNES.
I thought it would get you. I thought it would get under your
fucking
skin.
Monster. Oh, it does. Okay, I just at this point there's so many people.
You're ice cold. I didn't see anything happen.
I'm just like, oh no, it's SNES.
Played the entire summer. Played Super Mario World at Matt Noel's house. Finally was like, whatever, traded some shit in at Funkoland, bought my own one, brought it home, and Pinkerton had dropped right around there. It was still newish. And so I eventually muted Mario and just listened to Pinkerton on repeat while I played it. That was one of those of, I knew the sounds. I knew exactly what was going to happen and what a Goomba sounds like getting stomped on, and what running sounds like. I can't imagine playing every game, 90% of my games with the sound down like that, right? It's got to be contextual of what's happening.
No, absolutely. But even then, the platformers, and again, I'm very Tim about this type of stuff, but I like the sound and the music, and there's a rhythm to especially platformers that there's been times where I've been playing like Mario Maker on 3DS on a plane, and I'm also listening to music, and it just doesn't feel right to me. There's something about it.
So I put this up on Twitter because I wanted people's response there. Mike O'Leary says, only on planes and if I'm playing stuff like Ollie Ollie. Narrative games always need the extra experience. Audio supplies for me. Zyger says, I like to listen to podcasts while playing mindless shooters like Ghost Recon, Destiny, and Splatoon. Those are interesting because Ghost Recon and Destiny in particular, I would think you need to hear your teammates over them. But I guess there's a ways to integrate that and do all that jazz. Trevor Starkey says, if I'm grinding a JRPG or running through a collectathon, I typically listen to podcasts or have the TV or movies playing instead.
Yeah, see, I can get that, but I'm thinking about my JRPG experiences and thinking back to like Final Fantasy X when I was grinding for legendary weapons. There's still something satisfying about the random encounters, just like the glass shattering and the music playing. And I'm like, all right, it's keeping me going.
Sure. Cher writes in and says, a lot. There are, do you not? A lot. There are a lot of games with really repetitive soundtracks that don't add anything at all. Typically, if the music is great, I'll leave it on, or if I need the sound effects to play the game, or if the narration is really fantastic.
A funny variable to this, too, is thinking about like how important Tony Hawk games are to me because of their soundtracks. And when the original Xbox came out, a lot of games had a feature where you could put music onto the hard drive of the Xbox,
Right.
and then you
Make
have
it a soundtrack. Yeah, that was awesome.
in games, and that was cool. But I still felt like unless I was making playlist for it, it has to be right.
It has to fit, right?
Skating around Tony Hawk listening to J-pop doesn't work.
You said only monsters would do this. Of course, here's a monster for you that you know would. Double D Doherty.
Oh, God.
Cheeks_Jr. writes in and says, pretty often, actually. Gameplay heavy games, no sounds. Gameplay heavy games, no sounds. I listen to podcasts. I actually get annoyed when I can't do that sometimes. Huh. He's a monster. A lot of monsters.
Podcasts are interesting because I think it's different than me. I like to, oh man, I don't know actually. You know, you're all monsters. I stand by it.
And then John Wood is on your side. He just says never.
Never.
Never. No, that's the thing is like, there's certain games I like to, you know, like if it's like, I think Trevor and me are on the same page. Collectathon, JRPG, whatever, where it's just like, all right, cool. Like I wouldn't do it for Persona because it's so great in terms of like story and stuff. But if it's just like, I'm going after like the dungeons that are just the ones that do randomly, Mementos, I think is what I'm losing the name for. You go in there and it's just whatever, just grinding. Like, okay, I don't need to hear that or whatever. I like it sometimes. I'll always think of GOTY, right? Isn't that in the somebody that I used to know? That song I listened to an obscene amount while playing Skyrim and doing the thing where it would be I was doing the thing where it was the bullshit way to get your stealth up, where I would just hit a monk and then wait for him to sit back down, and hit a monk and wait for him to sit back down, and like slowly watch it go, and I listen to that over and over and over again.
Video games.
We all have problems. We all have a lot of problems. I want a good one. We got a lot of good ones here. I just want to, you know what I mean? Here we go. The Almighty Foofy. Kind of funny, goddamn. Are we about to go through the NES Classic all over again? This past Friday, pre-orders for the SNES Classic went live only at Walmart.com with no announcement. Within 40 minutes, the stock was sold out and the actual product page crashed. Later that weekend, there were scattered reports of people's pre-orders being canceled with rumors that the pre-order went live prematurely. Parentheses, so far, my pre-order is still active, so fingers crossed. It's been almost a month since the SNES Classic was announced, and there's still no official word on when it can be officially pre-ordered. Are we in for the bad old days again of confusion on the part of Nintendo and retailers not giving buyers the information they need to buy a wanted product? Thanks, and I love KFGD. It's what I'm looking for in a daily gaming news show. History repeating itself here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Undeniably. There's no way that this goes off well. Again, this goes back to the Pokemon Go situation for me, where it's like, all right, there is an obvious problem. Why is this not being handled?
Yeah.
I don't understand the point of limiting the quantities of these systems as much as Nintendo is doing. I get that they want it to just be a fun thing and just like not so much something that everybody needs to buy, but it is limited, it is exclusive, it is just a fun little piece of nostalgia, right? But with the amount of marketing they do for it and with the amount of attention to detail that they are putting into, especially the SNES version,
You say SNES?
I don't know why they wouldn't have a plan in place to have enough ready and to make it very clear to retailers to not fuck up and put things up early. And granted, this shit happens all the time. And like when things go on Amazon that aren't supposed to be there, and that's a problem because it makes Nintendo look bad. When people's pre-orders are being canceled, Nintendo gets blamed, even though it's Walmart's fault that some issue in the back end went up and whatever, right? It reminds me of IGN when they upload trailers that they weren't supposed to upload. They would fucking fly flying.
A fly has joined the podcast.
There was when Avengers 2, IGN accidentally leaked the trailer for that, and like that was a huge deal. But then it turned into a big thing where it's like IGN doesn't get blamed for it, even though it was their fault.
Yeah.
So with this, I feel like with Nintendo, they got to figure out a way to, even if they took a year off and came back next year with a Super Nintendo, but honestly, that wouldn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
So it's like, in my head, I actually kind of think, and I don't know this, but I imagine that Nintendo doesn't care about this because they know they're going to sell it out. It's more about having it there and having it done with instead of making sure everybody that wants one gets one.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the case. It is history repeating itself. It is going to be the same thing. It is going to be confusion. It is going to be pandemonium. And Nintendo's fine with that because guess what? It doesn't hurt them. This doesn't hurt them. They're saying that they have the hottest toy. They're going to have the hottest toy with this and the hottest video game system come Christmas. Everyone's going to want the SNES Classic, and they're going to want the Switch, and no one will be able to get them in those ways. And that gets them on USA Today reports. It gets them on, the Today Show. It gets them listed for the hottest toys, and they're fine with that. And the fact that even when we, as video game people, are mad about it, video game fans are mad about it, we all remember the NES Classic and what a shit show it was, but people are still like, freaking out and then screen capping their pre-order they got on Walmart and tweeting about it and being so excited.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but there is a magic to this type of hype. And like, that sucks that people can be manipulated in that way, but it works on all of us. We were sitting at dinner a couple nights ago and you stopped talking to us and you just pulled your phone up and you're like, hold on, Tim, Walmart pre-orders went up. I'm going to try to get you one of these. And it's like that. Would you feel that way about this if there wasn't that demand, if there wasn't that need to be first and be on it? Otherwise, I'd be like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
It's the same thing now of if I see a Switch in the real world, which I haven't, I'll buy as many as they'll let me buy. Because I know friends who need them. I know I can sell them. I can do whatever. And not in like, I'm going to gouge you for them, but like
let's get these in the hands of people that want them.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Because like that was my thing. Excuse me. When I was back at 4th of July in Missouri, where it was like, oh, we're in Hannibal, Missouri. Yeah, let's stop at that Walmart. Yeah. Let's see how many Switches they have. And they had none. They had none. It was like, all right.
It's what blows my mind about this is I had a theory about the NES Classic that they were just trying to get rid of components from the Wii Mote era.
Okay.
Because of that it still uses that connector, which that is weird to me as well. Why doesn't it use USB? That doesn't make sense because then we'd also be able to use it on the Switch, like use those controllers, right? Like now they're locked into old technology. So the fact that the Super Nintendo one is also doing that, I'm like, man, I guess my theory was absolutely wrong.
Right.
Because they would have sold all that stuff, right? Or else they would have made more of the NES Classics. But I don't know. I want to talk to Mr. Nintendo about this. Like I would love to get someone from Nintendo on Gamescast and be like, what is the actual deal with this? Like what is the business thought behind making it as hard to get as it is?
Yeah, I don't know. You figure if I was a betting man, I would bet the honest answer, which I don't know if they'd ever give, right? Because it would have to be your guard so down, and that's just not how Nintendo is. It would be the fact of, we know that at this scale, this is profitable for us. And if we go higher than this, where is the ceiling? Where do you get to the number where it's like, no, these are on store shelves and people aren't going crazy for them? Yeah. So right now you figure they sell this, they make money. You assume this is the projection that makes them the most amount of money without any risk. And they get all this publicity around it of it's the hardest toy to get, blah, blah, blah. People are snatching them up. Yeah. Because otherwise you go, it's like
Amiibos on store shelves when there's a bazillion Tom Nooks.
Exactly. On an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly smaller scale, this is what we go through with Kind of Funny Live 3 merch, right? Of like, all right, cool. Like we're bringing these shirts over and we got to pay for these shirts. So let's guesstimate how many mediums there's going to be, but order more extra larges. But then it's like that bell curve of like, well, then when we start getting into 2X and 3X, start bringing that number down and trying to figure out where the sweet spot is.
No, man, there's a science to it. Like I really had to go through spreadsheet after spreadsheet and like look at what we did at KFL1, KFL2. And there's, again, so much that goes into it that you just need to think about as many factors as possible to make the best decision that is making as many people happy as possible while not fucking anybody too hard. And that's when it comes to the Super Nintendo thing, it's like, man, like there's going to be a lot of people unhappy that they don't get it, but then there's also going to be a lot of people happy that they got it. And I wonder how many people feel like they got burned, wouldn't actually buy it if it was just sitting on a store, right? Yeah. Like it's just because they can't get it that they're upset. But you see it so many times where it's like if there wasn't a hype trailer for it and there wasn't like this like, oh, it's limited and everyone's talking about it and it's the hottest toy, why would anyone be interested? It's just another thing. Like you don't, and I know that Nintendo is different than Sega and Atari, but the Sega and Atari ones aren't flying off the shelves.
Sure.
They're just there.
Yep. There's no demand stoked for it.
Yeah.
Connor wrote into kindoffunny.com/KFGD and says, another perspective on Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Hi, Greg and Tim. I've heard you say on multiple occasions that people are sleeping on Uncharted The Lost Legacy because they don't realize it's a meaty product of its own right. Well, I've no doubt Well, I've no doubt this does apply to some people. I wanted to offer another perspective. I loved Uncharted 4 and consider myself to be a pretty big Uncharted fan. However, by the end of Uncharted 4, I was ready to say goodbye to this series, at least for the foreseeable future. Having another game, however short it is, so soon after Uncharted 4 doesn't seem terribly appealing to me, especially with the vast amount of games coming out around that time. And from talking to my friends and listening to other industry pundits, such as Giant Bomb, I don't think this is a unique perspective. Love the new show. Keep it up. That's an interesting one, Connor. Thank you for raising it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and if people are done with it. And I think that was the rock and a hard place Naughty Dog was of, hey, we've heard you want single player content, so we're going to give you single player DLC to a game that is supposed to wrap up everything for Nathan Drake. And so how do you do that and balance it? And then they get into this game with Chloe and Nadine, and it's, it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think there is a subset of fans like me that are like, man, I love both those characters. I'm totally ready for an adventure just around them and see what they do and how they play with that. And I know Nate so well. What are these characters that I tangentially know? How do they interact on their own? I still think it's going to catch people off guard. I understand that people feel like they're over it, but I think again, I say that people are still thinking of it as DLC and not as a full-fledged game that they'll get.
Yeah, man, I'm not over it at all. I would like if I can get an annualized Uncharted at the level of quality that Uncharted is, I'd take it. Like to me, Uncharted is 8 to 9 hours and you're done. It's like a movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like I think of it like I think of Marvel movies or Fast and Furious movies, where it's like they're just gonna keep coming, and I'm gonna
that's
keep.
Good. You're cool with that,
I'm totally fine with that because I know that I like it and I know that I enjoy it, and until there's ones that suck, then there'll be a problem, right? But when it comes to Uncharted, like those games are just on another level. There aren't any other games like it when it comes to storytelling and the mix of gameplay and cinematic moments. Like it's just set piece after set piece after set piece, and I love that. And from third person perspective, I know the Call of Duty games are kind of what I'm saying. Annualized, super crazy over the top action, and it is just spectacle. But I think that Naughty Dog hasn't failed in delivering something spectacular. And I'm so stoked for this because of that. It's like, I feel like I don't even need to be excited for this. I know it's going to be good.
Exactly. And that's what I think is working against it, like we've talked about before. And actually, it's the final question comes from Brendan. Can standalone DLC like Uncharted The Lost Legacy be Game of the Year material? I know that I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, seeing as how it's not even out yet, but that we won't be seeing Nate Drake, and not to mention that the year is chock full of great titles already, with even more to come. Looking at you, Mario. But considering Naughty Dog's pedigree and what they have said about the DLC so far, 10 hours playtime, $40 price point, etc., is it possible and or likely that we see Uncharted The Lost Legacy on Greg Miller's Giant Bomb list at the end of the year? Thanks for your work, Brendan from California.
Oh, yeah. I mean, see, that's the thing is I was against it for a while up until that last line.
Yeah.
Game of the year, singular game of the year. I think the answer is no. Games like this will never be on that list because they're being put up against a bunch of other games that are doing. Game of the year is usually reserved for something that's either different or revolutionary, or like there has to be some big word attached to it.
It can't. I mean, I always think of Game of the Year as holy shit, this caught me off guard. And that's the and I while I think people are sleeping on Uncharted The Lost Legacy, I think they're sleeping on it. Oh, that's not a full-fledged Uncharted game. You're going to get a full-fledged Uncharted game, but I still don't think it's going to, from even what I've played, I'm like, oh, that's the turret truck that chases you around. Oh, you're it's the mechanics again of Uncharted 4. It's what you're talking about of like an annualized Uncharted. Not to knock this, that's kind of what this is. I so far haven't seen them say, hey, here's a new mechanic. Here's this brand new thing. It's like, oh, I see how you're using what you had in your toolbox sandbox to make this game, which is great. Speaking of which, this is a great point to plug the fact that tomorrow, Sancho West on Kind of Funny Games Daily is delivering a preview of Uncharted 4 or Uncharted The Lost Legacy that he went down and played. So yeah. We got cool kids doing cool things.
Fuck off.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So he's delivering a preview for us. He'll have his own. It'll be a snippet of. It's a thing for Kind of Funny Games Daily that he's building from the ground up. And then, of course, I think he'll have more on his YouTube channel.
But like going back to what you're saying about your Giant Bomb list, like your top 10
is
game
different.
of the years. It is definitely different. But like how Giant Bomb does it, where it is just your games of the year.
Greg Miller's games of the year.
I definitely think that, and we've even had that before, where on our list, like we will put smaller games, because we're thinking that way, where it's like what games matter to us, what are our games of the year, you know?
I lost control of it, and then I acted like my hand was crazy.
Oh, okay.
My hand's not really crazy.
Okay. I had a moment where I'm like, is his hand crazy?
No, this is the first time, if you're an eagle-eyed watcher of this show, if you're a podcaster, you wouldn't know. This is the first time I've had coffee during this show. And I'll tell you what, I feel fucking fantastic.
Yeah?
Could podcast another 15 hours if I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
But I won't. Let's check in and see who time to squad up with. Over on Squad Up, of course, you can go to kindafunny.com/KFGD. Give us your PSN name, your Steam name, your Switch name, whatever the fuck it is you want to do. You tell us why you need friends. We read it a lot here, and then other best friends just like you hit you up and try to help you with your thing. Today, Mato-sama writes in and needs Nintendo Switch friends. So I'll read it first. His Switch code is SW719743279988. Why does Matato need help? Because I mailed a Switch to my best friend who lives in Venezuela. Why did that look so foreign to me? Venezuela. I'm an idiot. Where they are impossible to get because of their insane government. And he knows no one with a Switch besides me. We need to get more people to play with him so we can throw proverbial middle fingers at the Maduro's administration. Yeah, fuck the Maduro administration. Anyways, hit up his friend at SW719743279988.
Rolls off the tongue.
It rolls right off the tongue, everything. Yeah, I it's one of those, maybe it's the coffee where I looked at Venezuela there and it broke. My brain broke. Couldn't do Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Venezuela. Kevin, help me. Venezuela. You're
adding an ia into it.
Venezuela.
It's not Leah at the end. La.
Venezuela.
Nailed it.
Tim, I'm going to jump into a rotating segment that was submitted by a fan. You go look at what we got wrong. Remember, you can go to kindafunny.com/KFGD, ask us questions, give your PSN names, and if you want to, just take over the show and bring back a segment, just like Rubelstone did. Rubelstone wrote in and said, Greg, service announcement. The following includes a Greg way. Good, glorious morning, Kinda Funny Games Daily show hosts. I would like to touch back to a PS I Love You XOXO segment and a topic mentioned last week. Thank you, Shuhei. Thank you, Shuhei, for July's pre-order discounts. Ladies and gentlemen, it isn't just super hot. You could have preloaded on launch day enjoying a 20% discount. Patapon Remastered, The Long Dark, and Horizons Expansion are also on this customer serving action. This is the deal of the week, all week. Note, The Long Dark's pre-order does not require PS Plus, and Horizon is further out. Greg and co-host, could we see more of this? I don't want other people less confident in a given product to miss out on exclusives. What would it take to see my pre-order property valued? Thank you, KFGD show host, and thank you, Shuhei Rupelstone. I think you'll continue seeing it. I think it's a great idea of like, hey, because I think pre-order incentives to get you a pre-order are an interesting workaround sometimes in terms of like, all right, well, how can you do this? Is what's interesting about this, right? Is that this isn't undercutting GameStop, which we talked about last week. These are all downloadable games. Here's this digital thing. Well, I guess Patapon's only digital, yeah. Where you're going to be able to jump in and do it that way. I think you'll continue to see it because it is a way of getting you to use the PlayStation Store to get you back in to keep going, and it's easy money for them. You figure, and actually, hey, here's this thing you just heard about the Horizon DLC. Why not get it now at a cheap thing? Because it does go away once it's officially released. So good looking out, Rubelstone. Tim, what are we getting wrong?
Let me tell you what you got wrong, Greg.
No, not me. Us. Not just me.
Yeah, I know. And so a lot of these are additions, but I
don't want the editorializing, guys.
I'll allow it because I think it's interesting stuff. For the record, this is from Bearclaw. For the record, Niantic expanded the event radius by 2 miles in 2 days, allowing Go Fest attendees to play all over Chicago and catch the rare event Pokemon outside of Grant Park. Also, Articuno and Lugia are available worldwide currently, working perfectly well. Cool. So yeah, what I was saying was just like, they ended up getting what they came for. Tacky the Penguin says Niantic's first game was called Ingress.
Yes.
Shanadzi says today Overcooked on Switch was priced at $20 and dated for Thursday the 27th.
That's a good point. That's one of those ones you always ask us how we keep all the information straight in our head. I've known about that for so long that seeing it in my inbox today, I was like, just delete. That's old news. Good call. Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, okay, good. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday here on a variety of platforms, we jump into the nerdy news you need to know about video games, get deep down into that video game stuff, discuss it, have fun, get dirty with it.
Get dirty.
Remember, you can watch it live at twitch.tv/kindafunnygames, and you can tell us what we got wrong. You can also, if you have Twitch Prime, or if you got Amazon Prime, you got Twitch Prime. I'm tossing it in there because the kids on Reddit were like, as long as they never say it on Kinda Funny Games Daily, I'm fine with it. I'm going to say it everywhere. So if you're listening somewhere else, like on the podcast services, or you're watching over on YouTube, if you have Amazon Prime, you have this thing called Twitch Prime, you get a free subscription. We'd love to have it because it helps us make the show. If you know, a big deal. If you don't want to, support us on Patreon, do all that stuff. Kinda Funny Live 3's up right now. It's pretty goddamn amazing. It'll be free next week, though, so don't worry about it. I think that's mainly the end housekeeping stuff, right? I nailed it, right? Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, Andrea's on. He said, yeah, it's Andrea tomorrow.
It is. And also tomorrow, party mode goes up. One of our best ones. Yeah. Gang Beast.
If you're over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, if you got no money to give us, even though it just costs $1, you can get it on Wednesday. So until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you. Don't.